Hello again, beautiful people, and welcome back to Life Treasures and Golden Moments. This is Natalie Silva. I hope everyone's had a good week and is looking forward to a good weekend, fun weekends, and I'm looking at my calendar and it says December the 1st. Can you believe it? We're getting into winter mode already and all the holidays coming up and everything, and it's going to be busy for a lot of people running around. So anyhow, I think I want to start the month out this month and with some holiday stories. And today I have a story. It's a story of a miracle, and it's called A Christmas Miracle. And it was authored by Karen Kingsbury. I hope you enjoyed this story today. Kara Wilcox was anxious to get out of the house for a while. It was December the 12th, and the air was freezing cold outside. Life had been difficult for the Wilcox family lately, and Kara had no idea how she could afford Christmas. Times like that cool winter night, Kara knew that the only way to get her mind off her worries was to get outside, even in their crowded neighborhood, and get some fresh air. "Who wants to go for a walk?" she asked as she climbed into her coat. It was very dark outside, and Kara's New York neighborhood was not very secure. And that evening she planned to walk no more than once around the block. Kara looked into the faces of her 4 children and saw that none of the older 3 was excited about the idea for a walk. Sarah, 5, and Joey, 7, shook their heads. "We want to watch TV, Mom," they said. Kara looked at her eldest son, Colin, 15, and the boy shrugged. "Not tonight, Mom, okay?" "Sure," she said, "but you watch Joey and Sarah, all right? I'll take Laura." Her 3-year-old daughter had a lot of energy, and Kara found her riding toy. Even though it was cold, the child could ride alongside her for one block without bothering her. It would be good for both of them. She took the child's hand, and together they left the apartment. Once outside, Kara and Laura had not traveled far when the child no longer wanted to ride her toy. Kara sighed and picked up the toy, and as she did, she glanced behind her. She was only about half a block from home, and suddenly she saw Joey and Sarah walking up the street. They were acting kind of sneaky, darting in and out of the shadows as if they were trying to catch up to their mother and surprise her, so Kara decided to play along. Turning back toward the direction she'd been walking in, she and Laura continued down the street. When they reached the intersection, Kara turned around and looked for them again. This time she didn't see them. She said out loud, and Laura looked up at her. "Come on, Mommy," the child said. "Walk." Kara stood unmoving, staring back toward her house and straining to see the children. She wondered if perhaps they had gotten scared of the dark and decided to go back home. Then the thought occurred to her that perhaps someone had snatched them. The neighborhood was often a frightening place, and crimes were committed around them each day. Suddenly, Kara began to panic. "Sarah!" she called out. "Joey!" There was no response, and Kara could feel herself actually shaking in fear. Quickly, she turned around, tightened her grip on Laura's hand, and began heading back toward the apartment. As they walked, Kara noticed a man across the street who was headed in the same direction. Kara wondered where he'd come from. Since the few times she had looked back to check on her children, she hadn't noticed him. Although she was preoccupied with finding Joey and Sarah, Kara noticed that the man across the street kept looking at them. Since she did not recognize him as someone who lived in the neighborhood, Kara began to be suspicious of the man and picked up her pace, sweeping Laura into her arms. In one hand she held the riding toy and decided she would use it in self-defense if necessary. "What's wrong, Mommy?" Laura asked, aware of her mother's nervousness. "Oh, nothing, honey. We're just going home now." As Kara and her daughter neared the corner of her apartment building, the man began crossing the street at the angle headed in their direction. Terror raced through Kara's body, and she wondered if she could reach her apartment in time if he tried to accost them. At that instant, a thought came to Kara. "Pretend you see your father at the front door and talk to him," a voice seemed to say. Instantly, Kara acted out on the suggestion. "Hi, Dad," she yelled, waving in the direction of her apartment, still 4 units away. "Have you seen the kids?" Almost at once, the man who had been headed straight for her turned around and started walking in the opposite direction. Kara breathed a sigh of relief. She had tricked him into thinking that her father was really at the door. Kara ran up her apartment steps and dashed inside. Her fears were alleviated. Kara saw Joey and Sarah on the floor watching television, as they had been when she left. "Why did you guys come back home? When did you get here?" she asked. "Did something scare you? What?" The children looked blankly at their mother and then at each other. "What do you mean?" Joey asked. "You were outside following me. I saw you. Why did you go back inside?" Colin looked at his mother, then he shook his head. "Mom, they've been right here the whole time," he said simply. "They didn't want to go, remember?" "That's impossible," she said, moving slowly towards a chair. "I saw you both, following me behind us, and when I couldn't see you anymore, I turned around." Then Carrie remembered the strange man. For the next 30 minutes, she tried to explain to Colin about the man and how threatened she had felt. "Mom, maybe the kids you saw were angels, and the only way they knew to get you to come back home was to make themselves look like Joey and Sarah. You know, Christmas angels." Kara stared at her son. She had been thinking the same thing, but was afraid she'd sound crazy. But why not? Wouldn't it have been fitting for God to use angels who looked like her kids, her precious children? "I don't know, son, but I'm sure I saw the kids outside tonight." Kara told everyone who would listen about the story of what had happened on her walk, but it wasn't until later that she came to believe, without a doubt, that a miracle had occurred that night. It turned out that that man who had been trailing her was an escaped felon from the state prison. Until his recapture, he carried a gun, robbing people in Kara's neighborhood at gunpoint. "I do believe he intended to rob me and kill me and Laura," Kara told her friend later. "And by some Christmas miracle, God directed 2 children who looked just like mine to lead me back to safety, while my children were inside the apartment the whole time. It must be a miracle, because things like that just don't happen." Thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the story. And as a reminder, if you all have had a miracle happen to you or have a story of an inspiration, please contact me at angelswhisper11@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care, God bless, and have a beautiful week. This is Natalie Silva.